Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, classicest known classic. This episode number, believe it or not, this is episode number 3307 and Doubleshot 3201. Okay? So here we're discussing issues from Impulse 3150, along with the second and final annual for the series. Yes, final annual, because I never did any more after this because the book lasted for a few more years. And I guess DC just didn't care to produce their annual. I guess either because annual wasn't financially successful for them, or it wasn't any interest, per se. There's also issue 1,000,000 discussed here, which mostly came out between issues 42 and 43. It is mostly put what Bart Allen was up to, interacting with his counterparts from issue 1,000,000. From the 1,000,000 era. That's mostly exactly what the book is. Along with discussing issues 18 to 28 of Hawkeye Volume 2, along with its 2 annuals. Oh, by the way, the whole thing with Bart's mom. The whole thing with his family lineage. Yes, his father is Don Allen, the son of Barry Allen. His mom is the daughter, or at least a descendant, of Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash. Yep, so he's related to not only Barry Allen the Flash and Wally West the Flash, he's also related to one of the most, well, possibly one of the most popular evil speedsters of all time, Eobard Thawne, the Reverse Flash. By the way, Bart's mom does pop up during a Christmas issue for this book, where Max Mercury does ask her, like, don't need the translator because I actually learned the language when last time you were here. Yeah, the intergalactic language. Yeah, as for why in the world that Impulse's mom does not bother to speak English at all, I'm guessing because she just never learned it, per se. By the way, issue 46 is a tie-in to Chain Lightning. Somehow, but it's not collected in the trade paperback stuff with Mark Waid. I don't know why, it's weird. So, basically, a lot of the stuff that happened. At one point in the book, Bart goes bald. By the way, the Christmas issue was actually issue 34, which is the return of Bart's mom. I think it was another Christmas issue, I think it was. 45, yeah, 45 was another Christmas issue. Despite the fact, well, publication-wise, with February, my guess came in December. So, Melanie Allen, the mother of Bart Allen. This was, of course, her first appearance in the book since issue, when she appeared in 45. The first time she appeared since issue 26. She does return a little bit later, like, it takes her a couple years before she makes an appearance in the book. So, in the case of some of the issues that happen here, because most of it's basically Bart pulling jokes, fighting off against the character Dr. Marlowe, who's this guy with this beard, who becomes a recurring villain for Bart Allen for a little bit. At the first main issue 30, like, he's there for 31, then he returns again for 37, 38, and 44, 48, to 49. Returns a handful of times afterwards. He, of course, is still living with, and then we have a cameo by the character White Lightning, who does break a brief return in the book. Yes, after her last appearance in this book being issue 15, and she comes back next issue, appears again 38, and then not seeing it to 46, then she appears a few more times after that, and that was it. Yeah. There's, of course, also eating wild stuff. Now, of course, there's also the character of Evil Eye. Well, his name's Wilfred Parker. Yeah, he's more recurring than his grandfather, who's a villain. Yeah, and then after dealing with White Lightning in issue 33 and 34, we have our first two Christmas issues. We have the first appearance of Dr. Julian Termaine, Master of Time and Space, who appears only twice this whole book. He appears in this issue and the next issue and then never seen again. No, seriously. Yeah, and issue number 35 is when they turn it into apes for an issue. Yes, seriously, apes. And then, starting issue 36 for a little while, Bart he decides to shave his head bald. Then later on he grows the hair back for some weird reason. This goes on for several issues, bald Bart Allen. All because people keep pointing at his long hair that he just refused to cut. So, shave it off. Yeah, and more wacky hijinks with Bart here. He'll do wild stuff. And then eventually, age 39, he meets Trickster for the first time, an old enemy of his awesome grandpa. And then we have a two-legged race issue, issue 40. '41, I should point out, though, now, 49 is the last issue done by Willie Messner-Loebs, who leaves the book. Now, 41 is not done by him. 41 is done by an editor who decides to fill in, basically, for this one issue. We have Bart meeting up once again with Arrowlet, first time seeing her in the book since issue 28. Yep. I guess they figured, oh, why not? The guy's name is Jason Hernandez Robin. And then Loebs returns for issue 42, which leads to issue 1,000,000. Excuse me. Also, Max, of course, you have Justice Quick appearing in the book, too. And then we deal with this group known as Expanders Incorporated. Yeah, they become like semi-villains for this book. And then we have a Halloween issue, and then the next issue is all about Christmas. And then 46 a tie into Chain Lightning, which you gotta read the book, it's a loose tie into it. And then 47 has a guest appearance by Superman and Superboy. And they also threw in a character, well, so, excuse me, there's a character named Chunk from the pages of the Flash book, who, after Loebs stops writing the book, he basically stops hearing the book for a little while. Yeah. Is he dead? Not really. He's not dead. He just doesn't really appear very much. Yeah, and Chunk and Rolly, he of course is a recurring character in the book. He's been recurring since issue 3. And after issue, 49, he continued to appear on a regular basis until around issue 86. Yeah. So, just Superman visiting for an issue. Why not? 48, of course, is basically dealing with the Riddler. Yep, the Riddler. And Bart knowing him. 49 reminds me of the Fincher comics, the cover anyways. It is mostly dealing with the character Randolph West. Who is this guy? Wally's father. And he's not a very nice person. Oh no. In a way, he's a distant relative of Bart's. In the case of this Impulse series, was this the only issue he appeared in? Yep. And this was Sally put his last appearance ever in comics. Was this one comic book. And then Willie Messner-Loebs leaves the book and it's taken up by Todd DeZanko. And he's the writer of the rest of the book. Issue 50 is quite interesting. It's basically Bart visiting Gotham City for an issue, and the cover is called Impulse Age of the Bat, which is basically it's a nod to Asbro Age of the Bat, written by the awesome Denny O'Neil. Todd DeZanko, he actually, who did some Spider-Man work. He comes over to DC Comics, and pretty much basically issue 50, and he stays in the book into the final issue of the series. Yeah, he's the book's final writer. He's the third and final writer. First was Mark Waid, then William Messner-Loebs, kind of a swap for when they were in Flash, because Loebs took over with Mike Baron, and then Mark Waid took over after Loebs left. So you can kind of think of it as Loebs and Mark Waid swapping books, kind of. And Todd DeZanko basically takes over the remaining 40 issues of the series. Yep, the last 40 issues. Issue 50 is a big double-sized issue. It's only called Agents of Bat just for this one issue. It's just a joke. Plus, we debut a certain character. We also have a background character, which like when they're in time. This issue is also drawn by Ethan Van Sciver. Yes, Ethan Van Sciver does, who's an amazing artist. But we're not done yet. There's still one more book to discuss here. That being, of course, Impulse and number 2. Which the cover thing is, the story's called Showdown. It's a Western book. Weird Western Tales. Because it's part of the whole thing of Pulp Heroes, where you have Impulse teamed with the original vigilante, not Adrian Chase, but Gregory Saunders. Yeah, this one debuted in All Squadron number 60. The one appears in this book. Yeah, and this will be the character's sole appearance ever in Impulse. Yeah, this is a character who very rarely appears, but I guess they figured, oh, why not? Plus, this also was the sole annual written by Loebs. The first annual for the book, which I discussed last time, that was written by Steve Vance. There was also a backup story in the book, featuring the character Windrunner, who actually was just basically just a story featuring Max Mercury. That was done by Tom Payer. His only thing he wrote for Impulse. But what do I think overall of the William Messner-Loebs stuff? Quite interesting. Still continuing the same vibe that Mark Waid was establishing, and Todd DeZanko was doing the same tone basically that was established by Waid. So good on basically DC for allowing the writers to continue that tone. Great job. I give the Impulse issues a 9 out of 10. Next up we have is Hawk and Dove, Volume 3, 18 through 28, along with the final annual. The two annuals, actually. 18 and 19 is a two-part story where you have Hawk and Dove team with the Creeper. Yep, the Creeper. And then, right after this, we also have the very first annual for the series. Yep, believe it or not, issue 19 led into the first ever annual. First of frickin' two. Yep. Why only 2? Because the book would end not long after that. Yeah, and the weird thing is I'm not sure when the second annual came out. So the first annual, it is mostly put basically just a return by Titans West for an issue. Yep, a group they were part of back in the 70s. This will be their final ever appearance in comics. Yep, they were brought back just this band. It was just a reunion issue. Yeah, and the members brought back here are Bombi, Mal Duncan, Flamebird, Golden Eagle, Chris King, and Lilith. No Joker's daughter, mind you. Nope, no Joker's daughter. She is not here. As for why she didn't come back for this reunion, I don't know. It's kind of weird that she never came back for this. But it was a nice love letter that Carl and Barbara Kitzel were doing with Dolph Hover and top artists in the art. This was a really good idea for an annual. Good job, basically, on the writers. It is most of also a referencing what happened with Clayface, Executioner, Icicle, Ice Major in the top. It's basically just reminiscing about the thing. Matt Hagen, of course, has been dead since Christ of Infinite Earths. The Executioner. This, of course, is the original one. He died back in Vigilante in issue 27, which he'd been dead at this point for about 3 years. Al Payango. He died in Jonah Hex No Way Back, who actually came out recently. He's, of course, it's just a ghost. The original Icicle died in Crisis Universe number 10. Iron Major He had been dead since second volume of Suicide Squad, though he somehow came back. And the top, well, it's just probably a version from the future. But amazing endings. Even appearance by Jaron Jeb Stewart from the Honda Take series. We also appearance by Ren Tamakari, who is also Ketzler, a recurring villain for the series. Yep. But now back to the main books themselves, where it becomes basically a lot about Dawn per se. Yep, a lot about all about Dawn Granger. Yeah, and then by issue 21, they take on the Female Furies, well, a new version of them, with new members being Bloody Mary, Cheshire, Malice Valor, and Speed Queen. Yep. Debut of these brand spanking new characters. Which, of course, if you're curious, though, they only appeared once this book, and then they appeared very sporadically. It's like, hey, let's have them fight, basically, the Female Furies for an issue, and then move on. Issue number 22 basically deals with them taking on a character named Velvet Tiger. Yep, Velvet Tiger, who was a character made her debut in the pages of Detective Comics, and was appearing here as a recurring character for about 3 straight issues. Yep. We're also dealing with a character called Sudden Death. Yeah, he was another recurring character that the creators book basically brought back. And by 24, they were gone. Completely gone. And then by issue 25, we have a double-sized issue celebrating the book. And Hawk becomes a criminal by the end of the book because of stuff while dealing with the character Barter. So for the last 2 issues, he's basically become wanted by the law. Yeah, because of crimes he apparently committed. Yes, so then he's arrested. And then he's sort of... By the way, also, Carl... This becomes kind of weird. So, Carl Kitzler and his wife, Barbara Kitzler, I think they since divorced. Yeah, 24 was the last issue they did together. And then 25, which is done by Carl Kitzler himself. And then 26 was done by Barbara Kitzler. And she also pretty much did the last few issues by herself. Yes. The last issue, for some weird reason, they had it where they opened up with Hawk and Dove in bed together. Not having sex, per se. They just happened to sleep in the same bed. I don't know why, but they did. And it was a double-sized issue. Even though they just had this with issue 25. And they decided to have it where the final issue was part of the event War of the Gods. The story involving this is just basically the end of the series, sadly put. Now, originally, George Perez did not want the whole War of the Gods story to be spread out across the entire frickin' line of comics. He just wanted to do the annuals. But DC apparently there was a communication issue, I heard, so they decided to give the annual thing to Armageddon 2001. The final issue is not bad. We do debut one new character here. A Mexican god of fire called Hespicali, this will be his one of 2 ever appearances he ever made in comics. Yeah, his only appearance being in War of the Gods number 4. And that was it. Yeah, and the kind of callback in action, so basically Hawk being told don't go to Hawk mode, but he eventually has to because of this event. And then we have to talk about the annual number 2. Written by Barbara Kitzler. This mostly was an alternate future where it may see something but didn't really go anywhere at all. I mean, the plan was... Now, this is part of the whole thing with the whole wave rider of all these annuals for Armageddon 2001. Him looking this possible future for Hawk and Dove. Yeah, and here's something really weird though. Now, the annual itself was released in June of 91. The final issue of this book was released in October. More like, probably because it's 2 months. So it's just October here. Probably August. So, 2 months after the annual came out, the book ended. The second ever annual. So, You're probably thinking, like, at what point was the annual released? Was the annual released between... Let's see, August, let's see here. So, it was probably the same month as issue 26. Yes, issue 26. And the book had to end there. Was it a terrible book? No, not really. It was a pretty interesting book. Just a shame the book got canceled. Well, I've heard the reason why the book ended because apparently it wasn't a big seller for DC. That's why it ended. It had an okay ending, but why the heck did they have to have an ending with a crossover? Yes, DC likes doing this at times. Marvel likes doing this too, where they want to release the final issue of a book during a crossover. Yeah, in case you're curious, what part was this one? This book was released basically after Legion 31. Yeah. Yeah, for some weird reason, for the Hawk and Dove thing, it says 2. Oh, it's just a question. Oh, I think it's 7. Yeah, 7. So, it is part 7 of the main story. Well, in a way, it's actually part 6. But how to read these in order is something else altogether. But you probably think, okay, since I kind of talked about this one, 28. For the War of the Gods crossover, here's what's left. Captain Atom 56, Dr. Fate 32, Animator 40, of course 57 for Captain Atom, The Demon 17, and that's it. Roughly about 5 comic books left. Yep, 5 more. And that's it. Probably talk about Dr. Fate Volume 2 really soon. The plan is, once I finish the Spectre Volume 2, I will definitely do Dr. Fate Volume 2. Because it's just a little bit longer. It's basically about the same length as it's like 10 issues longer than Spectre Volume 2. And when I finish both books, finish that one, then I'll go back to Volume 3 and then do whatever I need to do for Dr. Fate. But do I think basically the 2 years this book lasted for was a good sweet spot to end it? Probably. Yeah, probably. I would think so. Except that Hawk and Dove became pretty much basically where Dove briefly died, then she came back. Yeah. Pretty much in the way Dove was killed by her partner. Yeah, and then she came back to life for some weird reason. So what about Hawk himself? Well, he became the character Extant. Yep. You see, the story goes was that Hawk, of course, was revealed in the finale of Armageddon 2001 to be the villain Monarch from the Armageddon 2001 crossover. That was not the original plan. The original plan was to make Monarch be Captain Atom. For the longest time until I heard on Comic Pop of the story behind this, where that like somehow the thing got leaked. That's why I think it was the 90s. So what had happened is that DC told realtors the spoiler about the ending of it. Oh, Captain was the Monarch, and apparently got leaked in a retail magazine, and somehow, some way, that's how it got leaked. A retail magazine. And somehow people kind of found out about it, and they had to basically panic, so they changed the ending to be Hawk, even though it made no sense at all. Eventually, he tried to correct this a couple times, but I tried to make Captain Atom Monarch, and it just didn't go anywhere at all. I mean, Hawk and Dove itself, I still love the characters, it's just that they didn't really need to be treated the way they were. And I don't know if Steve Ditko even cared. at this point. He created the characters, but I don't think he cared at this point. I think he probably just want to move on from the characters. I'm not sure. The one person I would love to find out basically how he felt about this was Rob Liefeld, because he created the female Dove. I have heard on his podcast he did actually enjoy the live action Dove from Titans. He did enjoy that. But this is the last one to feature the original Hawk and Dove. Because when I come back to Hawk and Dove, it is going to be a book that doesn't feature these two at all. It's two completely different characters who only appear in this one mini-series for Hawk and Dove. Basically, the fourth volume for Hawk and Dove is what I'll talk about another time. And then afterwards, I'll be done with Hawk and Dove. Yep. But what's the plan when I finish Hawk and Dove? What series plays it? Young Justice. Yep, Young Justice is going to replace it. Yep. Excuse me. Yeah. So that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications. Next up is New Saga. Okay? You see them? Bye.